The Law of One, Session 82, March 27, 1982.
Ra, I am Ra. I greet you, my friends, in the love and in the light of the one infinite Creator. We communicate now.
Questioner, could you first please give me the condition of the instrument?
Ra, I am Ra. It is as previously stated.
Questioner, is there anything at all that we could do that we are not doing to besides eliminating the contact to increase the physical energy of the instrument?
Ra, I am Ra. There is the possibility/probability that the whirling of the water with spine erect would alter, somewhat, the distortion towards what you call pain which this entity experiences in the dorsal region on a continuous level. This in turn could aid in the distortion towards increase of physical energy to some extent.
Questioner, Jim has a personal question which is not to be published. He asks, it seems that my balancing work has shifted from more peripheral concerns such as patience/impatience, to learning to open myself in unconditional love, to accepting myself as whole and perfect, and then to accepting myself as the Creator. If this is a normal progression of focus for balancing, wouldn't it be more efficient once this is discovered for a person to work on the acceptance of self as Creator rather than work peripherally on the secondary and tertiary results of not accepting the self?
Ra, I am Ra. The term efficiency has misleading connotations. In the context of doing work in the disciplines of the personality, in order to be of more full efficiency in the central acceptance of the self, it is first quite necessary to know the distortions of the self which the entity is accepting. Each thought and action needs must then be scrutinized for the precise foundation of the distortions of any reactions. This process shall lead to the more central task of acceptance. However, the archet rave must be in place before the structure is builded.
Questioner, thank you. I would like to consider the condition at a time or position, you might say, if time is a bad word, just prior to the beginning of this octave of experience. I am assuming that, just prior to the beginning of this octave, intelligent infinity had created and already experienced one or more previous octaves. Is this correct?
Ra, I am Ra. You assume correctly. However, the phrase would more informatively read, infinite intelligence had experienced previous octaves.
Questioner, does Ra have any knowledge of the number of previous octaves, and if so, how many?
Ra, I am Ra. As far as we are aware, we are in an infinite creation. There is no counting.
Questioner, that's what I thought you might say. Am I correct in assuming that at the beginning of this octave, out of what I would call a void of space, the seeds of an infinite number of galactic systems such as the Milky Way galaxy appeared and grew in spiral fashion simultaneously?
Ra, I am Ra. There are duple areas of potential confusion. Firstly, let us say that the basic concept is reasonably well stated. Now we address the confusion. The nature of true simultaneity is such that, indeed, all is simultaneous. However, in your modes of perception you would perhaps more properly view the seeding of the creation as that of growth from the center or core outward. The second confusion lies in the term, void. We would substitute the noun, plenum.
Questioner, then, if I were observing the beginning of the octave at that time through a telescope, say from this position, would I see the center of many galaxies appearing and each of them then spreading outward in a spiral condition over what we would consider billions of years, but the spirals spreading outward in approximately what we would consider the same rate, so that all these galaxies began as the first speck of light at the same time and then spread out in roughly the same rate of spreading? Is this correct?
Ra, I am Ra. The query has confusing elements. There is a center to infinity. From this center all spreads. Therefore, there are centers to the creation, to the galaxies, to star systems, to planetary systems, and to consciousness. In each case you may see growth from the center outward. Thus you may see your query as being overgeneral in concept.
Questioner, considering only our Milky Way galaxy, at its beginnings, I will assume that the first was the first occurrence that we could find presently with our physical apparatus was the first occurrence the appearance of a star of the nature of our Sun?
Ra, I am Ra. In the case of the galactic systems, the first manifestation of the Logos is a cluster of central systems which generate the outward swirling energies, producing, in their turn, further energy centers for the Logos, or what you would call stars.
Questioner, are these central original creations a cluster of what we call stars, then?
Ra, I am Ra. This is correct. However, the closer to the, shall we say, beginning of the manifestation of the Logos the star is, the more it partakes in the one original thought.
Questioner, why does this partaking in the original thought have a gradient radially outward? That's the way I understand your statement.
Ra, I am Ra. This is the plan of the one infinite creator. The one original thought is the harvest of all previous, if you would use this term, experience of the creator by the creator. As it decides to know itself, it generates itself into that plenum, full of the glory and the power of the one infinite creator, which is manifested to your perceptions as space or outer space. Each generation of this knowing begets a knowing which has the capacity, through free will, to choose methods of knowing itself. Therefore, gradually, step by step, the creator becomes that which may know itself, and the portions of the creator partake less purely in the power of the original word or thought. This is for the purpose of refinement of the one original thought. The creator does not properly create as much as it experiences itself.
Questioner, what was the form, condition, or experience of the first division of consciousness that occurred at the beginning of this octave, at the beginning of this galactic experience?
Ra, I am Ra. We touch upon previous material. The harvest of the previous octave was the creator of love manifested in mind, body, and spirit. This form of the creator experiencing itself may perhaps be seen to be the first division.
Questioner, I was interested in specifically how this very first division showed up in this octave. I was interested to know if it made the transition through first, second, third, fourth, fifth, etc., densities. I would like to take the first mind/body/spirit complexes and trace their experience from the very start to the present, so that I would better understand the condition that we are in now by comparing it with this original growth. Could you please tell me precisely how this came about as to the formation, possibly, of the planets and the growth through the densities, if that is the way it happened, please?
Ra, I am Ra. Your queries seem more confused than your basic mental distortions in this area. Let us speak in general, and perhaps you may find a less confused and more simple method of eliciting information in this area. A very great deal of creation was manifested without the use of the concepts involved in consciousness, as you know it. The creation itself is a form of consciousness which is unified, the Logos being the one great heart of creation. The process of evolution through this period, which may be seen to be timeless, is most valuable to take into consideration, for it is against the background of this essential unity of the fabric of creation that we find the ultimate development of the Logoi, which chose to use that portion of the harvested consciousness of the Creator to move forward with the process of knowledge of self. As it had been found to be efficient to use the various densities, which are fixed in each octave, in order to create conditions in which self-conscious sublogoi could exist. This was carried out throughout the growing flower-strewn field, as your simile suggests, of the one infinite creation. The first beings of mind, body, and spirit were not complex. The experience of mind/body/spirits at the beginning of this octave of experience was singular. There was no third density forgetting. There was no veil. The lessons of third density are predestined by the very nature of the vibratory rates experienced during this particular density and by the nature of the quantum jump to the vibratory experiences of fourth density.
Questioner, am I correct, then, in assuming that the first mind/body/spirit experiences, as this galaxy progressed in growth, were those that moved through the densities, that is, the process we have discussed coming out of second density? For instance, let us take a particular planet, one of the very early planets formed near the center of the galaxy. I will assume that the planet solidified in first density, that life appeared in second density, and all of the mind/body/spirit complexes of third density progressed out of second density on that planet and evolved in third density. Is this correct?
Ra, I am Ra. This is hypothetically correct.
Questioner, did this in fact happen on some of the planets or on a large percentage of the planets near the center of this galaxy in this way?
Ra, I am Ra. Our knowledge is limited. We know of the beginning but cannot asseverate to the precise experiences of those things occurring before us. You know the nature of historical teaching. At our level of learn/teaching we may expect little distortion. However, we cannot, with surety, say there is no distortion as we speak of specific occurrences of which we were not consciously a part. It is our understanding that your supposition is correct. Thus we so hypothesize.
Questioner, specifically, I am trying to grasp an understanding first of the process of experience in third density before the veil so that I can have a better understanding of the present process. Now, as I understand it, the mind/body/spirit complexes went through the process of what we call physical incarnation in this density, but there was no forgetting. What was the benefit or purpose of the physical incarnation when there was no forgetting?
Ra, I am Ra. The purpose of incarnation in third density is to learn the ways of love.
Questioner, I guess I didn't state that exactly right. What I mean is, since there was no forgetting, since the mind/body/spirit complexes had the consciousness, in what we call physical incarnation, they knew the same thing that they would know not in the physical incarnation. What was the mechanism of teaching that taught this, the ways of love, in the third density physical prior to the forgetting process?
Ra, I am Ra. We ask your permission to answer this query in an oblique fashion as we perceive an area in which we might be of aid.
Questioner, certainly.
Ra, I am Ra. Your queries seem to be pursuing the possibility/probability that the mechanisms of experience in third density are different if a mind/body/spirit is attempting them rather than a mind/body/spirit complex. The nature of third density is constant. Its ways are to be learned the same now and ever. Thusly, no matter what form the entity facing these lessons, the lessons and mechanisms are the same. The Creator will learn from itself. Each entity has unmanifest portions of learning and, most importantly, learning which is involved with other selves.
Questioner, then prior to the forgetting process, there was no concept of anything but service to others polarization. What sort of societies and experiences in third density were created and evolved in this condition?
Ra, I am Ra. It is our perception that such conditions created the situation of a most pallid experiential nexus in which lessons were garnered with the relative speed of the turtle to the cheetah.
Questioner, did such societies evolve with technologies of a complex nature, or were they quite simple? Can you give me a general idea of the evolvement that would be a function of what we would call intellectual activity?
Ra, I am Ra. There is infinite diversity in societies under any circumstances. There were many highly technologically advanced societies which grew due to the ease of producing any desired result when one dwells within what might be seen to be a state of constant potential inspiration. That which even the most highly sophisticated, in your terms, societal structure lacked, given the non-complex nature of its entities, was what you might call will or, to use a more plebeian term, gusto, or élan vital.
Questioner, did the highly technological societies evolve travel through what we call space to other planets or other planetary systems? Did some of them do this?
Ra, I am Ra. This is correct.
Questioner, then even though, from our point of view, there was great evolutionary experience, it was deemed at some point by the evolving logos that an experiment to create a greater experience was appropriate. Is this correct?
Ra, I am Ra. This is correct and may benefit from comment. The logos is aware of the nature of the third density requirement for what you have called graduation. All the previous, if you would use this term, experiments, although resulting in many experiences, lacked what was considered the crucial ingredient, that is, polarization. There was little enough tendency for experience to polarize entities that entities repeated habitually the third density cycles many times over. It was desired that the potential for polarization be made more available.
Questioner, then since the only possibility at this particular time, as I see it, was a polarization for service to others, I must assume from what you said that even though all were aware of the service to others necessity, they were unable to achieve it. What was the configuration of mind of the mind/body/spirit complexes at that time? Were they aware of the necessity for the polarization or unaware of it? And if so, why did they have such a difficult time serving others to the extent necessary for graduation, since this was the only polarity possible?
Ra, I am Ra. Consider, if you will, the tendency of those who are divinely happy, as you call this distortion, to have little urge to alter or better their condition. Such is the result of the mind/body/spirit, which is not complex. There is the possibility of love of other selves and service to other selves, but there is the overwhelming awareness of the Creator in the self. The connection with the Creator is that of the umbilical cord. The security is total. Therefore, no love is terribly important, no pain terribly frightening, no effort, therefore, is made to serve for love or to benefit from fear.
Questioner, it seems that you might make an analogy in our present illusion of those who are born into extreme wealth and security. Is this correct?
Ra, I am Ra. Within the strict bounds of the simile, you are perceptive.
Questioner, we have presently an activity between physical incarnations called healing and review the incarnation. Was anything of this nature occurring prior to the veil between physical incarnations?
Ra, I am Ra. The inchoate structure of this process was always in place, but where there has been no harm there need be no healing. This too may be seen to have been of concern to logoi, which were aware that without the need to understand, understanding would forever be left undone. We ask your forgiveness for the use of this misnomer, but your language has a paucity of sound vibration complexes for this general concept.
Questioner, I don't grasp too well the condition of incarnation and time between incarnation prior to the veil, in that I do not understand what was the difference other than the manifestation of the third density, yellow ray body. Was there any mental difference upon what we call death? Was there any? I don't see the necessity for what we call a review of the incarnation if the consciousness was uninterrupted. Could you clear that point for me?
Ra, I am Ra. No portion of the Creator audits the course, to use your experiential terms. Each incarnation is intended to be a course in the Creator knowing itself. A review, or, shall we say, to continue the metaphor, each test is an integral portion of the process of the Creator knowing itself. Each incarnation will end with such a test. This is so that the portion of the Creator may assimilate the experiences in yellow ray, physical third density, may evaluate the biases gained, and may then choose, either by means of automatically provided aid or by the self, the conditions of the next incarnation.
Questioner, before the veil, during the review of incarnation, were the entities at that time aware that what they were trying to do was sufficiently polarized for graduation?
Ra, I am Ra. This is correct.
Questioner, then I am assuming this awareness was somehow reduced as they went into the yellow ray third density incarnative state, even though there was no veil. Is this correct?
Ra, I am Ra. This is distinctly incorrect.
Questioner, okay. This is the central important point. Why, then, was it so? You've answered this, but it seems to me that if the polarization was the obvious thing, that more effort would have been put forward to polarize. Let me see if I can state this. Before the veil there was an awareness of the need for polarization towards service to others in third density by all entities, whether incarnate in third density, yellow ray bodies, or whether in between incarnations. What was the I assume, then, that the condition of which we earlier spoke, the one of wealth you might say, was present through the entire spectrum of experience, whether it be between incarnations or during incarnation, and the entities just simply could not chuckling get up the desire or manifest the desire to create this polarization necessary for graduation. Is this correct?
Ra, I am Ra. You begin to grasp the situation. Let us continue the metaphor of the schooling, but consider the scholar as being an entity in your younger years of the schooling process. The entity is fed, clothed, and protected regardless of whether or not the schoolwork is accomplished. Therefore, the entity does not do the homework but rather enjoys playtime, mealtime, and vacation. It is not until there is a reason to wish to excel that most entities will attempt to excel.
Questioner, you stated in a much earlier session that it is necessary to polarize anything more than 50% service to self to be harvestable fourth density positive. Was this condition the same at the time before the veil? The same percentage polarization?
Ra, I am Ra. This shall be the last full query of this working. The query is not answered easily, for the concept of service to self did not hold sway previous to what we have been calling the veiling process. The necessity for graduation to fourth density is an ability to use, welcome, and enjoy a certain intensity of the white light of the one infinite Creator. In your own terms at your space/time nexus, this ability may be measured by your previously stated percentages of service. Prior to the veiling process, the measurement would be that of an entity walking up a set of your stairs, each of which was imbued with a certain quality of light. The stair upon which an entity stopped would be either third density light or fourth density light. Between the two stairs lies the threshold. To cross that threshold is difficult. There is resistance at the edge, shall we say, of each density. The faculty of faith or will needs to be understood, nourished, and developed in order to have an entity which seeks past the boundary of third density. Those entities which do not do their homework, be they ever so amiable, shall not cross. It was this situation which faced the logoi prior to the veiling process being introduced into the experiential continuum of third density. May we ask if there are any brief queries at this working?
Questioner, is there anything that we can do to improve the contact or make the instrument more comfortable?
Ra, I am Ra. All parameters are being met. Remain united in love and thanksgiving. We thank you for your conscientiousness as regards the appurtenances. I am Ra. I leave you in the love and in the light of the one infinite glorious Creator. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing merrily in the power and the peace of the one Creator. Adonai.